Alright guys, here's today's gear. A couple things I haven't tried before. A couple things I have. The brush is a B13 26mm with a Dogwood Briar Brushworks handle there. Very beautiful. Been soaking for several minutes. It has not been used by me yet. Leviathan, a scent I do enjoy. I've used it in the Glissant base. This is my first time trying Omnibus, the new soap base from Barrister and Mann. So that'll be fun. And then these two guys I've used before. This is my 85 gap WR2, and I'm using that today because I've just gotten off of a half a dozen uses of the WR2 with a 0.75 gap. And so it'll be fun to contrast the two. And then I'm going to use the same blade I used recently in the 75, which is a fairly young Nacet. So let's get it in the razor. This is a brushed finished Wolfman WR2, and I really do like the brushed finish. It's caused me some debate because my other WR2 is not the brushed, and so if I manage to obtain someday a 0.75 or maybe even milder gap base plate, would I want it in the brushed or would I want it in the normal polish? We shall see what I decide, because I don't know. I like the brushed a lot. All right. So as usual with samples, I'm going to take my little 1/4 teaspoon measurer here and fish out that much of the Omnibus soap base. Got a little bit of firmness to it, but it's kind of medium, not a super easy, cream. Ah, what a great smell. A little bit of coffee, right? Maybe leather. That's so good. All right, press this into the bottom of the lather bowl. All right, so it's soft enough where I don't really have to worry about the chunks not dissolving in the lather, I think. Get my face wet now. I'm going to be working with 2 days of growth. Shake out a lot of the water. I've had the chance to try 2 different B13s, and one of them 26mm, one of them 24mm. So this parallels the 26, and of course this has a nicer handle with the Dogwood. But the other handle I have has some ergonomic tweaks that I was hoping to improve on, and if this one works better, then I'll sell the other B13. By using a 1/4 teaspoon, that will help us to compare soap bases. Many soaps need less than a 1/4 teaspoon to get the job done, to give me 3, 4, or 5 passes of lather. So that'll be a good comparison. So Will had the wonderful Glissant base a few years ago. Then he had the reserve base that he used for a certain line of soaps, while keeping the Glissant as the base for most of his normal scents. And then he wanted to bring something new to the table, probably focusing on post-shave feel, that sort of thing. So he starts heading toward Excelsior. And that's the base that he had for a few years here recently. Now on his way to arriving at Excelsior, he came across something that was called Purple Possum 8. If if I remember correctly. And the weakness of that PP8 was that it got used up pretty quickly because it was so soft. But people loved the way it felt during the shave. And so even after Excelsior was chosen as the right base, see, because Will said Excelsior was firmer, and so it wasn't going to waste product like the PP8 would. And so Excelsior was what most of his scents transitioned into. But then the clamor for PP8 was so strong that he released it as the soft heart base and did some limited runs with that soft heart base. Then he figured out that he could modify the soft heart base a little bit. I believe it was in modifying the lye ratio. And he would make it firmer, and so then it wouldn't be wasteful. But you would get all the good benefits. So he did release some soaps under the modified soft heart. Well, I guess he must have at the same time been working on this Omnibus base, because I think a handful of soaps were made in the soft heart, modified soft heart, and then BaM, he releases Omnibus. So as of right now, this is the latest base from him, and people are just speaking so well of it. Right now it's staying kind of low, kind of gluey. You can obviously see the sheen there. It might have ingredients like castor oil and those kind of things that are helping it to stay kind of loose. And who knows, I could be adding too much water. Maybe I don't have enough. This is a brand new base to me, and so I could totally not get it right the first time. This is very loose, very wet. And so let's just see what happens if I use it as is. And look, the bloom on this is huge. It's just full of lather. So let me get my face wet one more time, and then we'll see what happens with Omnibus. It could be that this base needs to be run wetter than my usual. Could be that it needs more product. Maybe it needs more than a quarter teaspoon. Well, I'm liking this brush so far. It's very big. The tips are nice and soft. Now look at the transparency there. That's kind of likely telling me that maybe I took it too wet. But I kind of needed more lather. And so I went ahead and kept adding water because, as you can see, there's not a whole lot of lather in the bowl here. We can go back and get some more here. Unfortunately, I don't have a big tub of it to swirl around and add a little bit more soap to the brush. Just make sure it circulates well. Like, oh, see, there goes it. I don't want it to leave. Maybe this is the base that needs more product. It's kind of what it looks like for now. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with a sample, it's difficult to add more soap to the mix because you've got a wet bowl. You could poke out a little bit more product and put it in the bowl, but because the bowl has already got lather in it, it'll tend to just kind of stick to the, it won't stick to the walls. And so it's less likely to be integrated into the lather. So if I keep using this, then the shave we're dealing with is just what does Omnibus feel like when you have it way too wet. Now, you know, I mean, maybe that's something we want to know. But why don't we just kind of try to do something. So I took some extra out and I just kind of pressed it as best I could into the bottom of the bowl. And so let's just see if we can get it to come together. Some of it has come loose, but hopefully we can get it to turn into lather. Good news is I'm liking this brush so far. Okay, let's see what happens here. I know some of it is not integrated into the lather yet, but maybe we'll just help things as we go on. Yeah, see, there we go. So what that tells me is that, number one, this is a huge brush. This is a big dot. This may even be a 28. Kind of feels more like a 28 than a 26. I have seen the B13 have longer lofts than Scott is usually done, and maybe that's one of the reasons why I am flocking to the B13 batch. I've pretty much avoided anything from B9A was the only one after B5 that I've had any interest in it. Because the reports were, people were saying, oh, well, this is kind of like B5, but it's got more backbone. Well, that's a sign that I am not interested in it. And you really have to have somebody give you a comparison. Added a few dribbles of water to the brush. You really need somebody to give you comparisons, because if you'll get somebody to say it has soft tips and it's not soft to you. Or they'll say it's got, dang it, they'll say it's got good backbone. What they mean is it's got high backbone. But the point is, you don't know what good backbone means to them, right? And so you need something objective, like, or at least relative, like more backbone than a B5 or less backbone than a B5. So there we go. The lather feels very good. In terms of slickness, even back before I added more soap, it felt like it would be a good shaving lather. It felt like it was going to give me the slickness I needed. All right, with the grain, 2 days of growth. Yeah, so I can tell that this is the 85. Definitely more blade feel than the 75. Not uncomfortable or anything like that. Just more blade feel. All right. And yeah, get a water rinse here. Now, if you're dealing with a lather that you've put too much water in, then skipping a rinse is a good option to firm it up a little bit. But since I went ahead and added soap, I feel like I need the extra water. Well, pretty sure I'm liking this B13. And I'm liking Omnibus. I just need to load more of it next time. So that's interesting. Most soaps, 1/4 teaspoon is plenty. There are a few, like Holy Cow, where you do need to load more than that. Chisel Face Silk Tallow is another one where you have to load 3 times more than that. It's crazy. Now right now is where the good comparo is happening between the 85 and the 75, because it's normal for you to feel a little bit more blade when you're knocking down 2 days of growth, right? But now we've already taken that down, and now we're working on just kind of the refinements during the second and third passes. I'll have to revisit Excelsior and see which I like better. This does have a nice feel to it, luxurious, creamy. But if I indeed have to use more product, then that's kind of a ding for me. Which seems weird since I have so many soaps. And I need to find a way to use them up quicker. But it just seems wasteful to waste soap and that kind of thing. The lather is really nice. So I'm sure that this lather is going to give me some nice post-shave feel. It's been a long time since I've used Excelsior, but I think I like this better. The only ding might be if Excelsior lets you use half as much soap, that might kind of offset the pros and cons. Scent strength here is nice. It's kind of in the medium range. I'd say 4 out of 10. And it is what I remember of the Leviathan. It looks like in the end, there's still a few soap chunks that didn't quite get worked into the lather, but very happy with the performance of the lather after I added the soap. It beefed it up just enough. So maybe next time I'll try a rounded 1/4 teaspoon amount and see. I do have melange. That's my other sample that is from the Omnibus base. So I've got 2 samples to play around with regarding Omnibus to see where it lands. So favorable for this base because it worked really well. What also worked well was this brush. This handle is not as long as I might normally like it, but it worked very nice during the shave, and so it seems adequate to the task. And man, it certainly is pretty with that nice dark stained wood, and then you can see the hybrid aspect of the bottom part of the handle there. And the tips here really like this this version of the knot. And nice, easy flex. So yeah, this is a keeper. and I'm grateful to have found it. Very nice, beautiful handle, and just the right kind of tips that I enjoy. So here's how it looks after the shave. Again, my other B13 that's about this size also does this nice big bloom. So the tips are soft, and to me, and they have a light amount of gel. They don't seem to be a damaged brush, is what Scott says. They are comfortable and soft on the face, and you don't get a firmness to the tips at all. But they still had give. They still would move, and had a nice easy splay. But with this kind of knot, as you can see, you don't really actually need to splay it kind of too much, because the tips just kind of move around with you nicely. They do, with my other B13, we'll see with this one, the tips do dry a little crispy. I almost prefer tips that don't, because I really enjoy kind of, after using my brush, sitting it on my desk, and later during the day, I like to feel the brush, and if the tips dry crispy, then it's not a good feel. But you know, that's the way it is. Can't have everything, right? So so good outing for that brush. I could feel the extra blade feel on the WR2 here, the 85, but it was very comfortable during the second and third passes, and so the 75 is just a little bit better. So pretty good. And how much water did I use up? You know, I overwatered it, right? 20 milliliters of water, mainly because I saw that it was kind of low and gluey, but I knew that I needed more product. I could have stopped at maybe adding 10 milliliters, but I wouldn't have had I wouldn't have had a lot of lather. I should have went ahead and stopped, because I should have realized, wait a minute, it's a little harder to add soap in since I'm dealing with a sample. Oh well, live and learn. I like this scent, and I have, I'm going to just kind of test the post-shave qualities of this lather, and just leave it, because I don't have an unscented balm nearby. What I have enjoyed yesterday was this cologne from Sterling that I got from Black Friday deals. It's one of the seasonals that they just released. It's called Oro Valley, kind of a dry, woody type of scent that I really enjoyed wearing yesterday. I'm really glad I bought this one, and so that'll be fun. It'll be fun to smell. I may have a balm that doesn't smell somewhere else, and I might put that on since this is winter. But there we go. Great shave. Learned some things, and learned what the Omnibus base is not. It's not super efficient in soap uses, it looks like. But the brush was great. The actual lather, once I got it consistency dialed in, it was very, very nice. Worthy of Will's work, in my opinion. There we go. All right, this is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I sure hope there's been something in this video to help you out. You take care.